everyone, welcome back, or welcome if you are new. Today I thought I would talk about some of the tips and tricks to help keep yourself organized for those of you who are doing telepractice or telehealth. This is a definitely new area for a lot of people, and there can be a lot to keep track of. So I thought I would go over how I stay organized and how I manage everything to make the sessions go a little bit more smoothly.
Caught in an action, I can't rewind on. And in my head, I'm screaming, but out of my mind, I'm still too young to feel this way.
So if you are new here, welcome. My name is Emily Elizabeth, and I'm a graduate student studying to be a speech-language pathologist. So these tips and tricks will still relate to most other telepractice professions. Also a couple that can relate to the rest of you who are SLP graduate students or clinicians. So I have a range of clients going from children, pediatric clients, all the way to adults and geriatric. So I'm working with a range of clients right now as a graduate student. So the first tip I wanted to talk about is Google Drive. Google Drive is a lifesaver, and the reason I like it so much is because it's super user-friendly and everything is clearly marked, and the number one thing I like about it is that you can access it from anywhere. There have been times where I'm on the go, I'm traveling, or I'm doing whatever, I'm at the store, and I have to check some documents or session plans, things like that. I can access it from my phone. So I have the Google Drive app on my phone and the Google Documents app on my phone, so I can access them from anywhere. Also, if you ever lose your documents, you can access them from another computer. They're never really lost because they're on the internet. I really love that component because we all know how much time report writing and documentation and all of that session planning takes. So if for some reason your computer crashed or anything like that, it would be devastating to lose all that work. So I definitely love Google Drive for that feature. But the other reason I love Google Drive is because you can make different folders and they're super easy to access and keep track of. So I'll show you here a little demonstration. So for some of my clients, we are in dyad, so we have partners for just to have somebody else to bounce ideas off of. And so I use the team drive or the shared drive, which is awesome to use if you have to collaborate with any other professionals. Obviously making sure that they have permission to see those client files, but it makes it easy so that anybody can go in and change anything as needed. You can also go in and edit the same document. Sorry, my camera died there for a minute, but anyways, so I wanted to show you more how I use the Google Drive to organize all of my clients. So I like to use the folders. So here I'm showing you all the different folders I have. So you can have client 1, 2, 3, 4, however many you have. You can also organize it by day of the week. So you could have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever day of the week that you have clients, if that's easier for you to organize. But I like to organize it that way just so that everything for that client is in one spot. I also like that in Google Drive here, you can have folders within your folders. So here I have client 1 folder, and then I have folders for the session plans, and then I have folder for any documentation that I have for that client. This keeps everything in one spot, and then if you have different kinds of documentation, say for example if you have IEP notes versus evaluation notes, you can have those in different folders as well within the documentation folder. So it just keeps everything aligned, and like I said, you can access it from anywhere and at any time. Seriously, it is a life changer, and every person I've introduced it to loves it. It is so much easier to do, and also you can see the history of all the edits. So say you want to go back and change it, you can hit that edit button and see what you did at a different time if you like that phrasing better. So the other thing with Google that I wanted to recommend, number 2, is Google Slides. So my sessions are typically 1 hour, so I have to have enough curriculum for that entire hour. I know some other teachers and or other professionals use 30-hour increments. It depends on, again, what the IEP says, or if you're in a clinic or private practice, things like that. It all differs, but to make sure I have enough content and enough and for it all to be organized, I really like using Google Slides. Here's an example of one of mine. So I like to have the opening page saying hello to whoever it is and kind of check in, how was your week, still building that rapport a little bit, and then go into all the activities, and I like to have all the links in the activity so that right then and there you're not searching, you're not changing tabs, because when you share your screen on Zoom or whatever platform you're using, you can only see that tab. Like, you choose which tab you want to share. So making sure that everything is in the same tab is really important, and that can get confusing. So having the link right in there is perfect, and it's super easy to access. You can also add the hyperlink into a word so that you don't have just the link there by itself if you'd like. Otherwise, if you have children, they're not going to know what that means, so you could always leave it there as well. I've done both. But these are a great way to link reinforcers in, or to go back and forth between the stimuli and the reinforcer for any profession, because a lot of reinforcers are definitely necessary for the pediatric clients and students. So having those go hand in hand really quick and just being able to jump from tab to tab and already be there is super awesome. So the other thing in Google Slides is I can add animations. So if I don't want something to be seen right away, I can animate it and have it pop in or out of the slide as needed. So say I have a target word that I'm practicing with a student, I can just have the picture there. If they need the word in print, I could add that in the next click. There's a lot of things you can do with animation, but I really love that tool in Google Slides as well. And then again, obviously you can have the Google Slides portions in your folder in Google Drive. So it keeps everything super organized. Okay, number 3, having a schedule is so helpful. I have said this before in my videos talking about working with children, but this also applies to adults, because who doesn't want to know what's going to happen? It's always nice to know, say going into a meeting, what you're going to cover, kind of when it's going to end, and just the timeline of things is really helpful for any client, pediatric, adult, geriatric, anything. So I like to add in that hello slide and then the schedule slide right after to kind of walk through what we're going to be doing. So we're just going to do a check-in, we're going to do this, and this activity, and then this is what we'll do at the end. Whatever you end up doing in your sessions. So having that schedule just really sets the tone, and it helps you stay organized, so you can reference that schedule page in the beginning and then set up all of your slides and activities or points you want to talk about in a meeting right then and there. For some children too, you can use this as a reinforcer, like saying, going over what activities you're going to be doing and then putting that game at the end and saying, you know, we're going to do our best work, and then we get to play that game that you really wanted to play. And you can always give them a choice at the end too to make it more interesting. Okay, one tool for you SLP graduate students or clinicians. I'm sure a lot of you already are aware of this and are familiar with it, but boom cards are a lifesaver. So I highly recommend making a boom account. This one is mine. What to do is, if you click on the store, you can type in whatever you're looking for. Say if you are in psychology and you're going over feelings and attitudes and topics like that with your students, or if you're going over behavioral aspects or articulation for speech language games, it's all in there. There's so much in there that you can find. And what I like to do here is, instead of relevance, click low to high price, because it's usually balanced out by points. But if you click low to high, it shows you all the free ones that are 0 points first, and then just adding those into your library to access later. Here you can see I've also made folders in here to organize what tools and materials I have used previously and that were helpful and that I liked. I'm a big fan of folders, as you can tell. I like to stay organized, because the second you let go of the organization piece, it's pretty stressful. So I like to just stay one step ahead of myself. So here I have a lot of our TIC clients right now, and so this is what I primarily use boom decks for. And again, I link the boom deck into my slideshow, so it goes directly to the boom cards, and I don't have to sign in and click and go through all of that hassle. Other cool thing about boom cards that I have finally figured out is how to make my own deck. I'm sure there's a million videos out there on how to make your own, but just a quick snapshot. You go into the decks and hit make your own deck, and then there's a whole bunch of options that you can play around with. You can add pictures, you can change the background, you can select which answer is going to be right or wrong, or where you want to drop it. So that's a different video in and of itself, but I wanted to let you know that sometimes that it is helpful just to make your own. Because, for example, some of the articulation games are for just the initial position of a word, the medial position or the final position, and not all of them are specific components that I'm looking for or targeting with a client. So it's always helpful in any profession to be able to make your own, to make those games a little bit more interactive. One of the tips that I like for pediatric clients, and if you're using Zoom, is I like to give them control of the screen to help them interact, but I also like to manage their control, because, you know, there's always some kids that get a little bit silly, and it can become distracting and take away from the actual lesson. So what I like to do here is you can manage the annotation button. So the annotation button is the one that allows you to draw on the screen, to type on the screen, and all of that fun stuff. So hitting that disable annotation for others is really helpful because then they can't draw on the screen if you're all done. So for one of my clients, they like to draw on the screen and have their free time at the end, but they can only have it at the end so it's not distracting. But after when we're done, they have a hard time getting off and wanting to finish that coloring. So I just hit disable and then it's able to move along and end the session, or however you want to include it. Also, if you use it as a reward in the middle of the session, it's a great way to end it and move on with the lesson. And then managing how the child has access to click or to manipulate the screen is really important too. So I go in sometimes and I hit abort control for the client while they're practicing something or they're not having to use the screen, just so it doesn't become distracting. The next tip to stay organized with all of this telepractice going on is to have all of your client links in one file. So what I like to do, I'll show you an example. This is obviously not the real links to all of them, but I wanted to show you how I break it up. So I break it up by day of the week, and obviously if you're seeing more clients for each day of the week, you can make it its own page or whatever you like, but I like to separate it by day of the week so that we know that Monday I have these clients and they're in order. You can even put the time. I have a separate schedule to keep track of what time each client's at, but I've also done that for when I had even more clients. I put the day of the week at the top and then the time in that client and the link right there. So every time I just keep that tab open all the time and make sure that I have quick access to that document in accessing all of the Zoom links. Again, whatever platform you're using, it's helpful for, whether it's Google Classroom, Google Meet, any of those. I have all the links right then and there, especially if you have reoccurring meetings. Same thing, you have a meeting between client 1 and 2, there's your meeting. Then you can insert that meeting link right in between. So having these just makes sure that you can keep track of all of them and you're not last minute trying to find that Zoom link in an endless ocean of emails. So those are all my tips for telepractice. Let me know if there's others that you guys are interested in knowing about, or if you're even interested in learning more about Zoom and all the different features of that. I would love to help you guys out in any way, so let me know what else in terms of speech therapy or being a graduate clinician. I would love to answer any questions you have. Just leave them in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. I'll see you guys in my next video.